Yo, what's up, everyone? Today I am speaking with Aaron Toe. He's a professional MMA fighter fighting out of the Combat Academy. Nice to have you with us, brother.
Cheer, brother Richie. How are you? How are you?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm really good. I'm interested to hear about your story. We had a little bit of a chat when I saw you at training on Friday, and I was like, "Yo, I think people will have lots of takeaways from what we're going to talk about today." So I don't know. I like to start where it starts. What was growing up like for you, brother? What led you into the difficult life of being a combat athlete?
I think it's like most people that grow up in our culture, it's just a clash of settling in a different country with a different culture that has already been set up. So I grew up north. My dad was, I don't know if you knew about the Sir Kung Fu.
Yeah, Robert
Yeah,
McGinnis. Robert
yeah,
McGinnis
yeah,
was really famous for that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, my dad was with them.
Oh, okay.
And that was back, well, in the late 80s or something, eh?
Yeah.
Late 80s or early 80s or something. So he grew up in that environment. And I don't know if many people will know about it these days, but they were like a hard out kung fu monk style martial arts team.
Yeah, with like some pretty extreme training methods.
They were ruthless, bro. I think they got shut down because
Bro died.
someone
Yeah.
got shot while swimming across Monaco Harbour, wasn't it?
Nah. What happened was that Robert McGinnis, who was the Sifu, I
Yeah.
think he was firing a rifle in the air, like to make them terrified or whatever, or make it like a real
So
life training situation, and a bro drowned. I don't think he got shot. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
no.
he
So
drowned.
so they were doing it like what my dad told me the story. I don't know how accurate it is, but from his account, it was they were doing what's called adrenaline training. So they'll make them train for a stupid amount of time, and then put them in like a life or death situation where their adrenaline will spike, and you have to pretty much stay alive. And I think they were on a boat or something, and he was like shooting into the air, and then the bro just must have panicked, and yeah, he drowned. Not 100% sure, but I swear it was across Monaco Harbour that they were
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
They
Yeah,
used to
that
they used to headbutt concrete and do heaps of yeah, some
have you,
old school techniques.
it was some real. Do you watch McDojo? You follow the McDojo page on Instagram? It was
Yeah.
a little bit of that shit, man. Like the most
Right.
wild shit.
Yeah, it was actually yeah, he doesn't talk about it too much, but my dad grew up in that. So he when it all went wrong, they left. My dad left and went up north with my mum. My older brother, who's tattooed on my chest. I can't
Oh
see
yeah,
him.
Dylan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dylan. He was born with like a heart murmur, so he didn't hang around too long. And then yeah, it's I was born, and then my parents moved up north. So from South Auckland, they moved from to like the heart of the Hokianga. So where Waitangi is, inland from Waitangi, and inland from where our first Māori people were said to have got into New Zealand, back where my dad is from. So we went up there, and I would have been a baby. And then we just grew up old school. My dad went back to hunting every day, because so we broke in horses and had cattle and sheep and goats, heaps of hunting dogs. And yeah, my dad would go hunting every day for our food pretty much. And my
Wow.
mum, yeah, it's definitely a hard concept to grasp right now, because we're so dependent on the system that everyone's starting to become aware of. And I think I'm pretty lucky to have that's like 2 generations ago for most people, living off the land. And we had massive gardens. That's all I remember is the gardens would have been hundreds of meters long, just like corn, potatoes, kumaras, like watermelons for days, tomato plants, like bro, it was they used to ground me because I'd sit in the gardens in summertime and just eat off the
Eat all
get
the
out of the
watermelon.
garden, get because that was just the way that I thought about food. I didn't understand I would just go and my aunties and uncles used to laugh at me. Like,
Yeah.
oh, real odd kid, eh, boy? You just go down there and just start eating away. And I was like, that's what it's for. They're like, yeah, you're right, but it's just weird. They've never seen anyone like it. And so having to grow up like that, or my dad having to support us like that, was obviously stressful. And then my dad's Maori. My dad's like real dark, like pretty much black. But both his parents, well, one side of his parents are English, Irish. And so that's where the kind of culture clash came from with the settlers, you know, the culture between them getting shipped from a different country and thinking they were coming to a city like they were used to, and ending up in the middle of nowhere. And then the Maori culture coming in, and those two real distant ideas just coming together. And we picked up a lot of good stuff, and we picked up a lot of bad stuff from each other. And I think that's where the hard part of our culture comes in, because my dad's father, who I kind of grew up with, and my grandmother, I call them mama and dada, but they were in an era where they used to cut down the Cody trees, and they would be like children, 7 to 15, working 16, 17-hour days. They would ride all the way to work on a horse, cut down trees for hours. If they got hurt or anything, they'll just leave them on the side of the track as long as they're not dead, till they had left for the end of the day. So that kind of breeds a different kind of human, you know. They were pure survivalists. They fought every day for their food, and the work they did wasn't easy. It was real difficult. So I think the stress of that, and then the culture of introducing Māori to alcohol and all these abstract ideas about discipline and things that we hadn't run into yet, formed this culture of being a hard man, but externally, you know. So there was a lot of like violence growing up, like domestic violence was pretty normal, violence towards children, violence towards each other. The whole culture was kind of hit first and talk later. You know, we didn't have this. If you started to try and have a conversation with them when they're upset, they would just flip out, because they were never taught those skills to manage confrontation and what your triggers are, and all the emotional things that you've built up that aren't actually anyone else's problem. They're yours, but you project them because of the way that you feel about yourself. So yeah, it was hard. Like my little brother's gay, and for a long time my dad was real hard on him because he just didn't understand it. But my brother is one of the toughest people I know. Especially, and my mum, bro. My mum is absolutely a warrior. Like she spent 15, 20 years with my dad. Dad was going through the Sudor stuff. So she had to sign a waiver for his life before he could go and do it. So she told me this a few years ago, like just recently. She was like, yeah, I had to sign a waiver for your dad just so he could go and do the training. Just so I think that may have been why no one really got in trouble. And so, you know, living in that kind of mentality for so long, and my dad was pretty much like the Jake the Muss of the area. Like no one really messed with him because, well, he'd just throw down. So because he learned all these things in Auckland and brought them back up north, and now it was applicable. And when he was a kid, the way that they grew up, they would fight men. Like they were teenagers, and they would have to fight men, you know. If you put yourself in a position where you whakaiti or you belittle someone's mana, or just get cheeky like we do, they would fight you. Like it was a different time, you know. Respect was earned on the spot. Like if you really want to front up, it's going to happen. And yeah, they kind of trickled through to our childhood. Like I tell you what, my dad, hunting, horses, animals, anything to do with the bush regarding hunting, that dude taught me so much. Like if apocalypse happened, I'm pretty confident that my family are going to survive.
Bro, I'll be hitting you up, bro, because I'll be like, where's the organic tofu? Like, what do I do?
And that is actually a good point. So this is something that I learned at a really young age, is to respect life. So the first time, my dad taught this to me quite young. He gave me an animal to look after, to rear. It was a sheep, and it was one of the sheep were, the mother died or something, so we had to bottle feed the sheep. And at this time, we didn't really have a house. We lived in a shed, concrete floors. There was no walls. There was no jib rock and stuff. It was, literally like just a shed. And so we knew what hard living was, and that was kind of implied. But this idea of life and the fragility and the necessity of life was, he gave me this animal. He made me bring it up from a baby, and he told me, he's like, don't get attached to it. He's like, this is our food. And being a child and having something around you, like a friend, especially in a hostile environment, you're purposely going to attach yourself to them just to make you feel good about life, and things are good. You're accomplishing, helping something live. And then I was probably like 5, maybe 5 or 6. And it grew up, and he goes, all right, you're going to have to kill your sheep now. And like, it just hit me like a stone. I was like, oh, and you not really the type of person you can have a conversation with, like, I don't really want to do that. If he tells you something, it's just something that's happening. It's not negotiable. So he gives me a knife, and he stands there and he goes like, yeah, just pull it back on its back legs, because that's what kind of makes them paralyzed. Just stick the knife in. I've killed a few pigs by then. So he was like, yep, slit its throat. And I had to kill my mate pretty much. Stabbed it in the neck. And then my heart just dropped, and I was like, I realized what I'll do. I let the sheep go, run around, bleeding out. And then he got real angry because it jumped in the swamp. And then when you kill sheep, the adrenaline, if you don't kill them fast, the adrenaline gets into all the meat, makes it go hard. So I ended up having to catch it, made it more of a freak out incident. And so I ended up killing it. And then he just explained to me, he's like, look, I understand that your natural nature is to nurture things, but you need to understand that the life that we live is only because of other life. And that's what I need you to understand. That's why with animals and spiders and anything I don't have to kill, I'm very, very passionate or compassionate about. If I don't have to kill something, I will make sure that it gets to live. But then the opposite has to be true. When I need some food for my family, I have to do that. It's not something that I can not do, because then we don't have life. There's no life force in us.
I think when you're as a professional prize fighter, I feel like there's a transferable, I don't know, we've only just met, but you strike me as a gentle person, but your job's to knock and choke other people out in order to provide for your family.
Yeah.
It's a similar sort of concept, right? Like, we do it because we have to do it.
Yeah. There's necessary, or there's a bad stigma to the word evil, but like, there's necessary evil. There's necessary things that need to happen for us to survive. And he told me that so young, and ever since then, I never hurt people. Like, I grew up around people that were bigger, stronger, faster, like bullies and all that kind of thing. And I always just understood that that was the way that they need to act to survive in themselves. But I managed it in a way.
I really like that you say survive in themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's really much just a big armor, a big, like, they're actually scared and wounded and hurt on the inside.
That's it.
But they're bullies and they're hurting other people to survive in themselves. That's really profound, bro. How do you carry that? How do you have compassion for people that hurt you? I think that's something that our society in general seems to struggle with.
And I think this will go full circle back to my dad, in the way that the cycle that I changed is he carried on the hurt because he was hurt. But then I understood, like, hurt people only hurt people. People that are true and have compassion and their heart is strong, they don't search for hurt. And he taught me that real young because of that situation with the sheep. I don't want to hurt people. Like, when it comes down to it, and you give someone something they care about, they won't want to hurt it. And that's the cool thing, is if you really want to kill something, like, it's possible. But when you go through the act and then having to eat the meat, and you understand the process of how life works, you really don't want to. You can pull far back from that and go, okay, I know that there's something inside of me that needs that, but the rest of me doesn't need to be anything like that. And it makes you feel sorry for them because they can't actually even see it. They say ignorance is bliss, but the ignorance is what's causing them so much pain, because then they can become self-destructive because of guilt, and all these things just overlay on each other. And they end up, anything good they get, they'll destroy it because they don't think they deserve it, because they feel bad about the things that the wrongs that they've made. They can't forgive themselves because they don't feel like it's worth it. There's no value in the things that they've hurt. As the hurting, like killing something that has value, like food, it doesn't have that residual effect. Whereas we hurt someone without any value to it, that's what gives you guilt.
It's purposeless.
Yeah. And then then that makes you belittle yourself and become self-destructive, and anything that happens to you good, you'll purposely destroy it because you don't think you deserve it.
Yeah. You hurt people, you feel worse about yourself, you're more hurt and wounded, you continue hurting other people because you feel shitter and shitter and shitter. That's, I always talk about this, about like shame is not a good way of encouraging change in people, right? Like if we're trying to encourage people to make better decisions and live better lifestyles and stop hurting themselves and stop hurting other people, making them feel like shit's actually gonna like make the problem worse, not better.
Yeah. And actually encouraging the good thing. I got this from a village in Africa. It's like every time that someone does something bad or wrong in the village, they'll put them in the center of the village. And every time someone sees you in the center of the village, they'll remind you of something good, kind, or just that you've done for them in the past. And it reminds you of who you really are. The person that you truly are. And that reestablishes that habit. And then you start looking for more things to do like that. When you keep pointing the finger at someone, I know it as a troubled teen. Like as soon as I'd done something wrong and someone threw something at me, that was my perfect excuse for me to go and get wasted and do dumb stuff, get violent and try and, it's all your fault, everyone's against me. That was the thing that I used to say all the time. Did we allow to swear on here?
Go hard.
We used to hard out say, because we grew up around, so there was that environment of the culture, there was the hunting and stuff, the actually having to grow all our food, stress. And then there was the gang culture it was completely surrounding us.
Up north.
Yeah. Where I lived was in the middle of the bush, but we had the Mungo Mob pad in Rahiri, where I lived. All of my other cousins were tribesmen. The other side of our family were all black cows, and then there was like our friends' dads were all stormtroopers, so it was like gang culture everywhere. The only reason I never got interested in the gang was because my dad didn't wear a patch. But everyone that come to our house, they'll take them off at the gate. And I just thought, well, you get respect from them. Like then it just clicked in my head, like this is not how it works. But that gang, having that gang culture around, was just another layer of fuck the world. Well, because that's what we used to say, because our parents beat us up, our everything's, all the things in our fruit basket are going rotten, and then we got this mindset of fuck the world, the system's against us, everyone hates us, fuck this, fuck that. So we're just trying to use that to survive and gives ourselves reason to fight back. We feel like the rebels, we feel like we have a just cause because we're fighting for something, but when the whole time it's a trap. Because it just keeps us in that cycle. And if we don't notice it, and I'm lucky because all my cousins that were hard out gangster, they pushed me way away from it. They just kept telling me, like my dad was against it. He just didn't like people not standing on their own 2 feet. But all my cousins that were in it, they were like, cuz you don't need this in your life. You can do much more. Like go and find something you're good at and do that. And that's, yeah.
And that's something, was that something martial arts for you? Was that?
Yeah. Well, okay, so I wanted to be like my dad, and then like being being in that household with because my dad was like a clean freak, like OCD. Like we'd come home, the thing wasn't perfect or something wasn't done. It's like you get in hiding, but it's not negotiable, you know. And my dad was old school, like he'll really bash you. I laugh at it because it's funny now, but at the time it was pretty bad. Like I got electrocuted once, got a hiding for that, like actually electrocuted from like a 240 volts. I got beaten up for that.
I'm sorry, man.
I've come to terms with all these things. I just know that that's the only way my dad knew how to deal with this kind of stuff. I feel sorry for him, which releases my forgiveness. I have no weight for that.
You're a very, very self-aware dude, man. You spend a lot of time in like therapy or seeing psychologists. Like,
you want to know the truth?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I'll tell you the 100% truth. So grew up with that. My dad bashed my mom all the time. Watched it. My uncles bash my aunties. I've watched people get dragged behind cars and tied up and drowned and all sorts of shit. I started smoking weed when I was probably like 9 or 10. And then I found magic mushrooms when I was like 13. And it just changed my mind, the way that my mind operates. Like, instead of carrying all the weight of all these things, I turned them into keys to unlock doors. All of the pain and suffering that I had witnessed and gone through, somehow the magic mushrooms just went like this and flipped at 180 and goes, these are the things you need to open your future. And that's pretty much how I base my thought process now. I don't know what exactly happened, but it was like my brain. I was in the library of my brain, and it just reordered the library. It just went through and just reshuffled everything like a hard drive when they defrag it. And it just went through and just reshuffled everything. And then it just sat me down and I just was in there. That was me, my little brother, and my 2 cousins. And we would have been they would have been, 14, 13-ish. And we all kind of have the same mindset now compared to everyone else. They're all so self-destructive. They all kind of lost their true self, their child in them. We kind of kept it. And that's honestly what I think it is. And I just built from that, okay. So this is where it transitions into martial arts and trying to accomplish something. So where I come from, and my name where I come from, is all associated with bad things, because we're known in the school and the court and in town as very violent family. So when I wanted to become a martial artist, it was like, now you're just being violent. Now you're just trying to be violent like everyone else. And I couldn't explain to anyone, but I was like, that's not how I feel. I don't feel like this is bad. I know what that energy is, and it's not that. This is different. This is new. This is fresh. This is something that comes from the compost of that ugly energy. And so I wanted to train because my dad was tough and I wanted to be tough. I got bullied a little bit, not too much because I was real nice. And then obviously living with my dad, beating my mum up, I just wanted to save my mum, save my brother, save my cousins that were getting hiding. I just felt like the story needed a hero, and in the most like comical way. Like that's just what that life needed at the time. And I was like, well, all right, let's start training. So I purposely asked my dad, oh, okay, how do I do this? And he would give me one move, and I had to do it for months and months before he would even look at me in my direction to give me any kind of hint what to do next. He'll come out, look at it, walk away. And that lasted for a while. And then I got into heaps of street fights and stuff, getting this like 14, 15, starting to get older and become more of a testosterone-rich teenager. started to drink and stuff, So I was getting put in more environments where I could try and use what I thought was a skill set. And then when I was like 15, my mom and dad were going for a real rough time. They were pretty much separating. And then they thought I was gone out. So I'd snuck out during the day, got stoned jumped back through my window, and I was in bed just just tripping out. And then I hear them going off. I'm like, fuck, are we for real? So I'm in my undies. I walk out to the lounge and my dad's like, flip my mum over. And I was just like, bro, I've just had enough. I was like, you need to learn some respect, bro. Like, you talk to me. And anyway, so he's just like, respect. You need to learn some fucking respect. So it's like, he's like, do you want to have a fight? I was like, yeah. And at this point, I had my biggest chance because he was in a moon boot. So he had like his Achilles was snapped. And I was like, fuck it. If I have a chance, it's now, you know? So I was like, the man could have walked, he had one leg. So I was like, fuck, I'm down for this. So we got out to the shed and my mom's just going, no, please don't. Talking to me, please don't. And she's like freaking out. And then she notices like I get a few shots off and get out of range. And she's noticing like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you're doing all right. And then she like kind of giggles because she's like up on the stairs and we're down here in the shed. And like I tagged them and then got out and she like kind of giggled. And my dad would have been easy 3 meters, maybe 4. I'd say like 4-ish meters away from me. And you know what a bridge is, eh? Because we bridge. Yeah. So we were like, I looked over like this. Before I looked back, because I was looking at my mum, because it could just distract me. Before I looked back, boom, like a big left hook. And then I just felt my whole jaw snap. So like straight across here, just like felt like it just dropped. And then it was like just a massive sharp pain from the tip of this all the way through up to my head and like down my neck. And it like dropped me and I like hit the couch, then jumped on me, like unloaded, good few shots. And then my mum come in and try to smack him with a steel bar. And then like he like, because I don't know if you know what they are. They're like a bar you dig the ground with for gardening. It's like a steel bar. It's like,
like a hoe.
Yeah, but like a cast iron, like probably like 6, like 2.5 meters length. It was heavy as fuck. Starts whacking him with it on the back of the head, and he turns and grabs it like that. And I snuck out under there because he's on top of me, like an underhook escape. I don't know what it was at the time. Hit the gap and then like made my way for the door. And then like as I was walking, it just like dropped again and just paralyzed me. And I just like locked up, hit the ground. I was like trying to get out of the shed. And then he just turned around and see me, just stopped. And he just walked out, got his phone, rang the cops. He's like, oh, I just bashed my son. And then the cops turned up. So my brother just turns back up. This is how much I love my brother. He's fucking funny. Comes back and obviously knows the cops are coming. He's like, what the fuck's going on? I'm all fucked up. And he's swearing at my man, fuck you, fucking kid basher, saying all this, like, you know, just insulting him hard out. And he's like, this is my house, now you're off to fucking jail. Sitting in the lounge like this on the lounge, fuck off out of here. And I'm like, you just can't help but make a smile, you know? Because he's making light of the situation. And yeah, so after that, my hospital surgery, I got like plates and pins in my face, on my cheekbone broken, my jaw. And I think they fractured my down there. Yeah.
Your orbital bones.
Orbital, yeah. And went to hospital, had surgery, got out. I was in South Auckland for probably a couple of months, getting into trouble, like stealing cars and doing dumb shit with my cousins. And then my mum realized what I was doing and sent me over to Australia. And that's how I ended up. So I met my missus, who kind of helped me along the way, just because she's seen the light in me. She had never seen me be angry or anything when I had met her in the times we've been around. Like, she just knew who I was without seeing the darkness. And so she just brung it out of me more and more and more and more. And then it just reminded me of who I really am. Because I started getting pretty dark, obviously, after that situation. Drinking a lot, trying to get violent on the piss. And then her brother just steered me towards jiu-jitsu because I knew I needed to do something, and I'll be doing kung fu in Aussie for a little bit, but it wasn't the same. And he's like, go jiu-jitsu. So I thought, fuck it. It's on my back enough, I'll just go. So I went, I got beaten up from a 50-kilo woman.
I remember I've done martial arts my whole life and I'm not good at jiu-jitsu, but I fuck around with it, and it's like some old dude who's like rinsing me, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Bro, I feel you.
Yeah, I walked in and I was like, I've been street fighting in South Auckland. You know, in my head, obviously, I'm not saying this out loud, but and I get partnered with this lady and we're doing hip tosses into arm bars. And I was like, oh, cool. It's still one of my favorite drills. And she was doing it. And I said to because we were going live, and I said to the tutor, do you mind if I just go with someone else because she's a woman and I just want to see if it works? And then he just like gave her the nod. He just looks over and he goes, and then looks back at me, he goes, have a couple more goes and tell me see how you go. And I was like, oh, sweet as. And I'm like, she's like, oh, go as hard as you want. And I was like, oh, okay. We're like trying to, got gi on, so we're trying to like wrestle each other. And she just like hip tosses me and like throws me up in the air. So she's like looking at me while she's like slamming me with my arm. She goes, boom, and I'm like, and then like gets in the armbar, and she's like, and I don't even know to tap at this point. I'm just screaming like in the middle of a class. Oh, like, oh, bro, it was so fucking embarrassing. The most humbling experience I've ever had. And yeah, from that day forward, I was just like, if she can do this to me, because I'm a small person, like I'm quite short, and you know, I've got a lot of family who are massive. I was like, if she can do this to me, like maybe I have a chance against bigger people if there's a situation that arises. So I thought, let's go. So I got into, and it's passive. It's a passive martial arts. For anyone that's doing martial arts or trying to find something that if they're too aggressive and they want to mellow out, jiu-jitsu is perfect, because the more aggressive you are, the more you get yourself in trouble. You just learn that it ends badly every time you freak out and go rah, because you get super tired, and then next minute you're like tapping out to something that you're like, how did this happen?
What belt did you get to in jits?
Well, so I gym jumped heaps. I only actually got to blue belt. I think I'm like just off my purple.
Choice.
But I haven't been, so I done jiu-jitsu for like 8 years. I only got graded for 2 of them.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So then I gym jumped, and because I was moving gyms, they didn't want to grade me because I'm in a different gym. And then I just become, I ended up at Infinity Martial Arts by Kieran Cronin and Tuava Uduke. And yeah, I kind of found a home there, and that's when I found MMA. So Kieran, jiu-jitsu black belt, he'd started wanting to box and stuff, and I had obviously done some in the past, so I was like, oh, I'll jump in just to help you get ready for your stuff. And then I just got addicted to it. By then I was mellowed out enough and self-aware enough that I wouldn't carry it over into the rest of my life. And then that's what struck the heartstrings for MMA. And I just thought, whoa, this was made for me. I can beat people up and get paid and not go to jail. This is made for me. Where has this been all my life? And yeah.
How's your father now? Did he go to jail? For
No,
that, because it's a serious assault that
yeah. So I made no statement, laid no charges. He ended up doing some things through the court. I was in Australia. At that time, I just was like, I have to deal with this in my own way. So I kind of left all that here. Now we got a real good relationship. Like I've realized that, and this took me a long time, you can't hate any of your parents. You can't hate your mom or your dad because you're half of them. Despite you might not like them, you might not think the things that they do are okay, but you can't dislike, or you can't actually hate them, because the core of you that's hating you, you're half of them. You know, deep down in your subconscious, you're half of them. No matter what you choose, you think you are half of that person. But you can take the good, and that's what I've done with my dad. Is I love him, and this is a good way to think of it, is unconditional love. Love that has no condition is true love. That's the love between a child and their parent. You know, there's no action that you can do or undo that will stop making me love you, because then it has a condition. There's a contract on your love, the love I have for you. Unconditional love means no matter what you do, I will still love you. And that's okay. Doesn't mean I have to like you or support you on the things you do, but in order for me to survive and come out of the survival mindset into a growth mindset, you have to love them, because that helps you love you. And I come to a point where I forgave my dad, not because of him, but because of me, because I needed to let go of that, because it was affecting me too much.
Kia ora. That's really nice. That's really nicely said. I really like that.
I had to do it because I started to realize how much it was affecting the people around me without me noticing. But in certain situations and certain things, I had put this wall up to protect myself from him, and then it had filtered into my other relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
I do know.
Yeah, because I had left it alone. I hadn't cleaned that part of my house yet. You know, I left the dirty attic alone, or the basement alone. You know, because I thought, I'm not ready for that. But then once I started venturing into it, it became a lot easier to deal with. Like now, I can truly say I like my dad again. I like him for the things that he has given me, like the hunting, the survival, the animal knowledge, the will to survive, the will to fight, the attributes of all the things that he does that I don't like, but he does them in a good way. You know, I've taken all that on board with myself, and now I carry that part of my dad and the memories that I have. There's one cool thing, I just attached myself to a memory of me and my dad when I was a kid, and we watched rugby, and we'd just be together and watch rugby and cheer together. And those moments, that's a dad I remember and think about and love. And when things start going wrong and all that kind of stuff, that's the person I reflect back to and acknowledge. That's my dad. I love that fellow. Fuck, he's the man, you know? In those moments, he was perfect. And in other moments, he wasn't, but I choose to remember those ones.
It's really powerful. I think a lot of people could learn from your example, because a lot of people carry a lot of bitterness, and myself included. My childhood was not as violent as yours, but it was violent and it was dysfunctional, and you know, beat up my own father a couple of times and stuff. And I'm not like you. I still focus on the negative. Like, and I love my dad. Like, my dad just came around the other day, seen him for the first time in ages, and I do love him and I care about him and I want him to be happy and stuff. But I kind of am stuck in this narrative in my head of like a lot of I focus on the dysfunction rather than what you're talking about, because it wasn't all like that. There's fucking heaps of good stuff too, you know?
Yeah.
So on a personal level, I'm going to try and be more like you, Aaron. And like focus on the, I think we live in a society which often encourages us to look at the problems and not like focus on the solutions. So I appreciate that reminder, bro. Thank you.
It's definitely look, I know that the reason why I have to focus on the good parts of him is because if I focus on the dysfunction, that's what I will see. Your subconscious will fine-tune your focus to what you believe is true. So I believe that he does good things, and these good things I focus on. So when every time I see them in him, that's how I feel. And it happens in the reverse. Like if I feel like, let's take our dads out of the situation, we'll throw our missus in the deep end and say there's a certain situation. I'll do it the opposite way. My missus to me, like, you know, about dishes, right? And so like if I don't do dishes in my house for a week, every time my missus sees me pick up my plate after dinner, she's already assuming and believing that I'm going to just stick it down on the bench and walk away. Right? And her bringing that up will create a bad energy in us, you know, because then I'll feel like, oh, fuck, like, and it, you know, we'll clash in a way, but I know that I'm meant to do it and she knows that I'm meant to do it, but it just becomes a cycle of, she notices it, I get angry about it. She notices it, I get angry about it. And it can happen with our relationships with everything. So by me, there's only two ways to fix it. By me taking responsibility for myself and going, oh, I need to fix this and do something different. And when I pick my plate up, go wash it. And then she gets a new attachment to that moment and memory. She's like, oh, now he's doing it. Now he's doing it. Right. But as dysfunctional as our parents are, I'm coming back to them, it's not going to really take responsibility and change his actions. You know what I mean? So
yes,
then
nice.
there's the opposite way of it coming right, is me not noticing it.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes back to ignorance is bliss. Like sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But me not focusing on that part of that moment and being attached to that feeling with that moment, then I can let go of those things. And I can be like this. I can enable it by letting them do it and not comment. That's also a negative. Or I can take it upon myself to do something for them that they have trouble with. So as I see him, as Emma sees, well, this is just an example. As Emma sees me getting up off the table, she goes and grabs it before I even put it down, grabs the plate, takes it. I've got this, I'll wash it for you. And it goes to me, oh, whoa, no, wait, I'll do that for myself. I can do this for myself. And that's when they start taking responsibility in a positive way, because they feel encouraged to, because it's their choice now. And they're more aware of the choice because it's not a cycle of their choice. Something's come in between before the cycle gets to complete itself, and it's changed the vibration of it. It's become at a love vibration, and then she's come in with the love, going, "I'll clean your plate for you, darling." And the love from her creates responsibility in me to go, whoa, no, it's okay. This is mine. I'll do it for myself. And then something new can happen. And that's what we have to do for our parents, because there's no flying fucking way that they're going to do it at all, and I've come to terms with that. It's just like something I got to do, and we'll take from them the good. Like I try to take the best from my mom and my dad and give that to my kids, and then they'll come along and go, "Oh, Dad, you need to fix this," and they'll take the good from me and the good from my missus. And that's what evolution is. That's what we need. That's the circulation of life and improvement.
How old are your kids?
My kids are 5. They're 5-year-old twin boys, identical, and a 2-year-old girl.
And do they have much to do with their koro?
Yes, they actually. So this is what unconditional lovers. They have absolutely no idea that I feel or felt this way about my dad. I talk to them about my dad like he is the fucking man, because they need to have positive relationships with their family members. Otherwise, it becomes normal to have dysfunction relationships. And they see mom and dad being out of it towards auntie, and they're just like, well, we can treat people like that. Oh, okay. I don't yell at, I try not to yell at my missus in front of my kids, or get the conversations with my missus in front of my kids. And same with my mom or my brother, because everyone clashes, but you just need to show them, like, either resolve it in a positive way where they see resolution happening, or separate them from that environment so they don't need to learn the dysfunctional ways we deal with each other.
Yeah, it's taught behavior. It's yeah, exactly. Like the academic term is operant conditioning. Like your operating environment programs you, right?
Yeah.
And we soak up all these ideas and all these behaviors from what's around us, and you're very, very intentionally changing the operating environment.
Can you close the door, please? Thank you.
I won't take it.
Must have heard me talking about that. Yeah. Like I'm very aware of how we actually are a lot like a computer.
Yeah, we are. But the cool thing is, and you're explaining this really profoundly, is that we can change the programming.
Yeah. And it's like software updates. You have to do them. Eric, you know who Eric Thomas is?
I don't.
Okay. Eric Thomas is the man. So I went through a phase where I had to listen to a lot of motivational stuff, and so a lot of the ideas I get are from Les Brown, Eric Thomas. That's probably it. But Eric Thomas's thing, I just mind blank. What were we talking about? Sorry.
Updating the software.
Eric Thomas's thing is you update your phone every time there's a new update, but you don't update yourself.
Yeah, nice.
How stupid does that sound? Every time there's a new iPhone out, people get it, but they won't even try and think about updating their habits. Like I'm consistently trying to like just edge one habit every week, edge one habit, edge one habit, edge one habit. People don't notice it until like a year later, and they're like, "Whoa, your life's really busy, eh? Or really this, or really that." And I'm just like, it took me ages to get to, but you gotta fine tune yourself. If you don't, you're just gonna stay the same. This is where it comes to being happy. Happiness doesn't happen on accident. Like I have so many people around me going, "Oh, you're so happy. You're accomplishing your goals and you're chasing something." And I said to them, actively, like once a week, what do you do to make yourself happier?
And people just blanket, huh?
There's nothing. What do you mean? That's a fucking crazy. Okay. So you're just gonna wake up tomorrow
and expect to be happy. What action have you taken? Yeah.
You're gonna be happy with your relationship with your missus. You're gonna be happy with your job. You're gonna be happy with the way you feel about yourself. You're gonna be happy with your emotions and the way that you deal with things. Bro, let me tell you something. That sheep ain't gonna kill itself on accident. Like you ain't gonna get food. The life force doesn't come to you on accident. You have to create it. And that is the idea of we are creators. People give so much, and this is the thing, right? This is actually another great point. We give a lot of our responsibility away to other people. You're responsible for how I feel. You're responsible for how much I get paid. You're responsible for this. And what it does, it gives everyone else the power over your life. If you have 100% responsibility for how I feel, I have 0%. 0% responsibility means I have 0% power. I have no possible way of changing anything. Now let's reverse that. Responsibility is great. Give me all the responsibility so I can change everything I want. I can change how I feel. I can change how I eat. I can change everything. Responsibility these days, everyone wants to hand it away. But it's like, no, you're giving away your happiness. You're giving away your opportunity for you to create things. Take the responsibility. Take it. Like, even if it scares you.
This is really interesting. I want to try and talk through this because at the start of our conversation, you made some very good and important points about colonization and the impact of European settlement on Te Ao Māori. And there are real ramifications from that on future generations of Māori. How do you balance that knowledge with taking responsibility for your life instead of saying, well, all my land got taken, our language got destroyed, my grandparents got corporal punishment for speaking their own language, the system is racist. How do you acknowledge that and at the same time apply what you're talking about? Because I am trying my best to learn and observe all of this, and it seems kind of like one or the other.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to.
I understand exactly what you're trying to get to. Like it's like this. You're dealt the hand of cards. That's the hand you have. You can't change the hand, but you can play the best hand that you have. Now, and it's the same thing with the unconditional love. If I was to focus on all these bad things that happened to my people in the past and sit in that energy, I will become self-destructive. I will become all of those things that I'm trying to not create because I'm festering on the things that have already gone wrong. And I can't change them. I can't make them different. But what I can do is bring Māori back through me, through my expression, my everyday life, my way I think. A lot of the ways that I think are like mātauranga Māori. Mātauranga meaning knowledge. And the Māori, the way that we think about things, I think can help general society. But I can use the positive shift of myself to make these things that in the past better, right? I can, like they took our language away, they took our land away, right? But they are also me. Like there isn't any non-English, Irish, Scottish, Maori anymore. We got bred out, kind of. There's no pure Maoris left. So for someone to take offense to it, they're taking offense to themselves. But what we can do is accept that where we are, and this is where we're at. This is the moment that we are in. And if we can do that, we can create better. So, like, to simplify what I'm trying to say is, should I still be angry at my dad for the things that he has done to me and affect the future of my life? Means I'm gonna go through the same cycle. Yeah. But if I can do that with colonization, we have to acknowledge the things that have happened. Like that is where most of the angst comes from Māori, is that we just plain and simple got ripped off. I don't know if a lot of people go through this, but the dog tax, if you've never heard about the dog tax, it might be a good thing to look up about New Zealand history, because that's where they started taking Māori land away. And then the treaty, obviously we had, before the Treaty of Waitangi, there was a thing called He Whakaputanga, which is we signed a sovereignty agreement with the Queen's father, King George. That's why we fly King George's flag. So we already had sovereignty. And then they created another treaty to try and dice that sovereignty away from us. And then the treaty that we signed was actually not a proper interpretation or translation of the words that we signed to. But because we signed both an English and a Maori contract, we live in an English society, it's more likely that we're going to use this piece of paper than this one. That's where Maori get most of their angst from, because they're like, well, you just took what we had, and now you won't even acknowledge it. Now, what can I do about that? I can either be angry at everyone else, or I can use the life that I create to bring back the things my tupuna would have wanted to keep. Now, when my ancestors left Hawaii, we call it Hawaii, our motherland, from the North Pacific, and come to New Zealand, there was everything against us. The waves, the wind. We were on a boat full of people with food, diseases. Everything was against us. But what did we do? We stayed true to ourselves. We stayed tuturu, and we followed the track of our people, and we got to Aotearoa, and we settled, and we become prosperous. Not because of the things that were trying to hold us back, but because of the things that we had inside of us and the things that we knew we needed to create for the future, for our next lot of people that come after us. That's the only way to fix it. The only way to fix it is to bring the things that you can bring from the past into the future, and that gives you purpose in life. Does it not?
I believe yes, but I've really become paralyzed with knowing how to, I don't know, do the right thing when it comes to making society better now. You know, there's so much noise on social media spaces, which obviously translates into offline spaces, about how to be an ally if you're Pākehā, how to speak up for women if you're male, you know, like how do you stand by, like, you know, the gay community against homophobia if you're straight. And I used to do all of that stuff hardcore when I was younger, you know, put myself on television ads and all this sort of shit. But now it's become so noisy, I'm saying less and less and less, because I can't deal with someone's perception of me getting it wrong, and all that comes from that, the online hatred and the lies about you and the online shit. I'm just like, I'll just try and be quiet because I don't want to fuck it up, you know?
Bro, when I went to Dunedin the first time, I did a widow from our ancestor. So my ancestor's Rahiri, and he had a karakia, a prayer to his son Kaharu when he was born, because he was born stillborn. So he gave his son to the god of war, and he was reborn. Once he was born stillborn, and then he cut the sack open, and then his son, after the karakia, had a breath of life, and he was born, and he was adorned the warlord of Ngāpuhi. And I went down there and did that karakia, that wero to my opponent. The amount of hatred that I received for doing something like that, especially in Dunedin, where people are less welcoming, I guess you could say, to that kind of stuff. People, my own people from up north, this fucking dude, fucking did this wrong. Oh, he did that wrong. Oh, he shouldn't have done this. Oh, and because of the fight wasn't that exciting. Oh, you know, the whittle was more exciting than the actual fight. Fully hating, absolutely just throwing hate shade my way. And my mum got the real defensive, bro, because like my mum's one of my biggest fan. She just coming at them on the internet. Yeah.
Yes, mom, go girl.
Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna talk about my son. And I had to explain to her, I was like, Mum, look, these people that are throwing shade are doing it because of something in their heart. Something in them, it's a trigger for them. They can't handle it. A lot of them obviously wish they were either doing it to do it properly. If I'm doing it wrong, where are you doing it properly? I don't see you doing it anywhere. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
bro. I fucking know what you mean. Hard.
Yeah. And this is the sacrifice we have to make. Like, as shit as it is, like, I have to sacrifice myself so my kids are wider than me, but so they can do it without anyone hating on them. They can be themselves like I'm being myself, and no one's gonna hate on them because I've shifted some part of society through that phase. And this is what makes it funny, because I'm fighting next week. I went back to that same post where they're all hating on me, and I just messaged them individually on the post and just like winding them up again. Like, oh, if you want to see me get my head smashed in, tune in next weekend on XSC 54. Like, you know, just like getting smart back to them, and like a whole year later, just so they can look back on themselves and go, oh, what the fuck, the bro. And because I'm just trying to make Māori cool. Being Māori wasn't cool for so long, bro. And it's starting to become cool now. And I'm putting it into eyes that, like, we got a po in our gym. Like, you've been here, you've seen the massive po up in our gym. That's for Dan, that's for the culture, and that's for the presence we create and the atmosphere that you need in these kind of places. But it's also to bring Māoridom back to normality. It's, you walk in and people see it. People aren't all Māori here. There's heaps of white people, Asian people, Islanders, Africans, every culture, and they walk in and they see them and they feel at home because we're making it normal. We're bringing that past into the future without it. It's subtle, you know, subtle improvements, and it becomes normal again. And now I speak Māori every now and then in interviews, and I'll do, like, at the end of my fights, I'll try and speak a little bit of Māori, and now in Dunedin, people like me more, and I'm doing Māori things. And that is the juxtaposition that you get caught in, because you're trying to do good and then people throw bad at you. And you think, well, obviously it's not worth it. Obviously this isn't working, because why would I be receiving this hate when I'm just trying to do the right thing? And then it comes down to what me and you were talking about the other day, being tūturu. So tūturu is a word that means to be like fixed or permanent or truth, like true in your ways, and you'll fight for them. It's spelled T-U with a macron, T-U-R-U. So tu meaning to stand, and turu meaning like a platform, but to be still in your platform and stay in that place, no matter what adversity comes towards you. So I I welcome the adversity because it means that I'm making waves. I feel like something's happening. You know, there's vibration, there's noise, there's creation happening, and sometimes it comes back in these ugly ways. But that's just the cycles that we have to face and break and change. And all these hurt people, I know because I did bully a couple people myself. Like when you look back on those things, it doesn't feel nice, and it makes you change the way you do it in the future. And we just give them opportunities to grow and progress by letting them make mistakes and not like, you know, escalating the situation, but just helping them realize that that's the way you think. That's just the way you think.
Dude,
And
this has been an amazing conversation. I've become a huge fan of you in the last hour, and I really want to follow your journey because you have a lot of good that I know you're going to do in our society.
Cheers, brother.
Bro, you are like a full leader, man. You're going to inspire not just your own fight now, but like all the young fighters around you. Whatever you decide to do, I can feel it now.
Yeah.
You're going to have a big future.
Cheers, brother.
I'm very taken by today's conversation, bro. Very taken. Yeah. What do you yeah, fuck. I feel very emotional listening to your corridor, bro.
That's the way it should be, brother. We're gonna think less and feel more.
Yeah, I know. I live in my head, bro. I'm a
Yeah.
massive like, oh, I've got to logically and rationally discuss this, and then I'll put it through an academic framework, and then that will make sense. But it doesn't, because I'm left still like feeling a whole bunch of shit that doesn't feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then I'll go spar with
sure.
the boys and do some running and just have an honest heart-to-heart conversation instead of a head-to-head conversation. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Brother, so brother, you're fighting next week. You're defending your title for the third time down there at XFC in Dunedin. All the best, brother. Like, I really want you to keep that belt. And then I want to, where's next? What's the goal from there? Obviously trying to make it to the
wait
UFC.
for the hangman to get back and tell me what kind of torture he's got for me. I actually don't know, to be honest. I'm just keen to get this fight camp done. My missus and my kids have not had me as much around them as they could have because I've been in fight camp for 4 months. But they are very supportive and they help me every step of the way. Like my missus come here, she's Australian. She left her life over there for me to come here to do this. And I'm very grateful to her. I'm very, very grateful to my mom, my brother, and all the team at the Combat Academy. I'm gonna, without sounding cocky, but just being true to myself and being true to where I am, I'm gonna beat this guy up, come home with a belt, have a great Christmas and New Year's, and I look forward to seeing what 2022, holy heck, 2022 is gonna throw at me because I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I feel good about the future, and I'm ready to show these big wigs what a boy from the bush can do.
I'm excited to see what the boy from the bush can do, brother. Hey, thank you so much for talking with me today, man. You're an impressive young man, brother. I'm pumped that we had this corridor, bro. Thank you.
Me too, my brother. And hey, that just to reiterate that word to do. If you do something and you feel like someone is going to take offense to it, if you do it from the kindness of your heart and the trueness of your spirit, then never doubt it, no matter what it is. And if there is doubt, let them bring it. And if it changes your perspective, then let it be. But if it doesn't, and if you feel the way you feel, take that step and leave your imprint in the sand, because it can affect more people than you will realize.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Love you, my brother.
I love you too, bro. I do. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, my brother.
All right. Peace, bro.